welcome to the Crash and AJ blog at 98rock.com for the September 9th edition of the Star Goddess.
Yoo-hoo, welcome back,
Oh,
lady.
it's so good to be back. I got requests last week. It was like, well, where's the overview? Like, well, I wasn't on the air, and they were like, yeah, and
Yeah, like,
you know, I'm dying.
Overview every week, no matter
Yeah,
where you are. All right?
I'm lost right here.
So we're waxing towards.
We are. The moon is waxing towards full, is what we like to
All right,
say. The
that's
moon
good to
goes.
know.
It wanes when it gets smaller, and it waxes when it gets bigger. And the idea is, from between the new moon and the full moon, you want to put a bunch of things in motion, and then bring them to some sort of a conclusion by the full moon. Because after that, there's not a lot of energy to start new stuff. There's a good energy to finish it, but we're still in the let's create new stuff part of that phase of the moon. So, and then we have the moon sign this week goes through. It goes through two signs: Aquarius between now and Wednesday, and then Pisces between Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday. So, and that brings that energy because the full moon on Saturday, and it's at. And so actually, technically, the full moon is Friday night because the moon actually is full at like 33 minutes after midnight on Saturday, and so Friday night for all practical purposes. Which means, if you're one of the signs that's going to have a difficult time with that energy, it's going to be Friday night rather than Saturday morning. So, I thought we need to know where that energy is going to be.
Yeah, who's going to have the difficult time? And when a difficult time meaning a difficult time, maybe wrapping up the projects, or just is there a definition?
Because
of
a difficult time, the very nature of an opposition is heads butting head on.
Okay.
And the challenge with this is because Mars is also in the sign of Virgo, so it will make emotions run bigger than normal, sort of like high tides or even higher kind of a deal. And so I thought everybody needs to know where they can expect that energy to manifest. So for Virgos, the sign that we're in, Virgos are literally like the Robert Conrads of the zodiac. Like, hey, knock that off my shoulder, give it a shot. They're very, and normally they're not a particularly provocative sign,
Right.
Either sexually or verbally, and they're not going to sit back and be quiet for nothing. If you ask a Virgo what they think, buddy, you're going to hear it over the next week or so. And they have to be really careful not to do themselves in, not to be. Because nobody likes an aggressive person, and particularly nobody likes an aggressive person who goes, I was right, see? They don't like that at all.
If you're not used to hearing that person that way, and all of a sudden you hear him that way, that you can totally take it.
You can take it the wrong way and be taken back by it. So they have to be really careful. There's a difference between being asserting your opinion and aggressively stating your position. One gets you punched in the jaw.
Some diplomacy.
Yes, would be a much better thing. And Virgos are not known for tact. They should take a lesson from their Libra friends about how to tactfully say something. Like a Virgo, you say to a Virgo, how's this make me look? A Virgo will go, God, it makes your ass look fat, which is never a good answer. And if you say that to a Libra, they would go, perhaps it'd be more flattering in black, because it makes you look a little bit smaller.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
Virgos can learn from that. So they have to be really careful with that. And for them in particular, this is in relationships. Because Virgos we're very bossy. We think we can do anything better than anybody else, so we're really big fans. And I'm sitting here telling people what to do with their energy. It's right there. That evidence is right there. So, but we have to be careful in relationships not to boss our partners around or our intimate partners around,
Right.
because it's just not going to get a good result.
Gotcha.
And if you give an ultimatum, it's going to backfire on your Virgo. So be really careful about that.
I know one of those.
Yeah, I know, and you got to be careful. I'm trying to tell her to be careful. For Libras, this is much different energy for Libras. For Libras, and these are the most partner-oriented of all of the signs in the zodiac is Libra. They want to partner more than anything else. They never, ever are happy doing things alone. And this time, with this full moon, with this energy, they're going to try and do something different with their work environment. And they have to be really careful not to criticize a project, because if they do that, they're going to get the job to fix it. And I don't think they want to do that. I think they'd rather just say, let me comment on this, rather than, here, I can find a solution to this particular problem.
Virgo month again?
Libra runs from the 22nd, from the equinox, the 22nd of September, to the middle of October, to the 22nd or 23rd of October.
Gotcha.
So they have to be careful with that. Not shooting themselves in the foot. That's the biggest challenge for Libras this week, is this energy is making it very difficult for them to just sit back and not say anything.
Okay.
For Scorpios, and Scorpio runs from the 22nd or so, or 23rd of October to the 22nd or so of November. For Scorpios, this is a great week to try and reach for the brass ring. It's a
Alright.
good week to get the group to go ahead and reach out and help the Scorpio get what the Scorpio wants. So the Scorpios, and they're a little manipulative and sneaky kind of people.
Okay.
And they're going to try and make you think the group that it's your idea. And it's like, oh, this is good for everybody, but the truth is it's really just good for the Scorpio. So I have to admire their manipulative abilities, and unless I'm on the receiving end of it, then I'm not going to be too happy with it. For Sagittarians, you ask inquisitively because you always need to listen to your sun sign will tell you what energy is available, but your rising sign will tell you where in your life that energy will manifest. So knowing that someone in this room is a Sagittarius rising, this energy is in the 10th house of career and public standing. And they have been trying very, very hard over the last 2 or 3 months or so to generate some new professional things, not necessarily change the job they're doing, but like an additional other duty thing.
Right.
And this is the week they want to kind of nail down those details and see exactly what their responsibility is going to be with it. And they have to be careful not to create something that's going to limit their freedom of motion, because Sagittarians, they don't like to be tied. If I hated you, I would tie your leg to a desk and make you count the same pile of beans over and over again, because Sagittarians, they just like to, they think it's hard to hit a moving target.
For me, it's like, yeah, I like it. I've got some ideas, but finding that time to be able to do it and collaborate with other people that can do it at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's the
It's tough.
challenge. That's the
Yeah.
challenge. But the good news with that is by the end of this week, you'll be able to narrow down which things that are worth putting your time and effort into, and that you can get everybody to collaborate, and the things that you have to go, yeah, sounds like a good idea, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of, you want to be able to pick and choose how you're going to direct that energy.
Gotcha.
For Capricorns, this is great energy for Capricorns. Virgo, when anything is in Virgo, it's great for Capricorns. The law's on their side, legal matters, educational matters, something that has to do with their day-to-day living. They've been trying to carve a new routine out for themselves for the last 3 or 4 weeks or so, and that finally is all in place, and it's all in place by this weekend, to where they can say, okay, now I have the freedom of movement to do what I want. I can work within this narrow parameters that I've already set for myself. And they get good information or a good word from afar. There's some sort of communication that they've been waiting for, and it finally comes by the end of this week. And it makes it a lot easier for the Capricorn to do what they like to do, where they like to do it, with who they like to do it with.
Yeah, there's a chance that sometimes this stuff can just breeze by somebody and they miss their opportunity.
Right. That's why they need to be aware. And this is something that they've been working on, and they need to be aware that it's going to happen by the end of this week. Okay. And then what they also need to know is that if it hasn't happened by the end of this week, they need to move on to something else.
Gotcha.
Is really the thing. For Aquarians, and I always have a terrible time predicting Aquarians because they don't know what they're going to do until about 3 or 4 seconds before they do it. Aquarius runs from like the 19th of January to the 19th or so of February. And this has to do with the money and the resources that they share with other people. And it's sort of like they're trying to do a project. They need additional revenue in order to do it. And they're looking to see who is going to provide that additional revenue for them. And they just need to make sure that the interest rate isn't phenomenal on it in either a tangible, real way or in an esoteric way. It's like, yeah, well, I'll give this to you, but it's going to cost you so much more down the line, that kind of a thing.
Okay.
And so they want to what they want to do is they want to ask a lot of very specific questions about the financial and the structuring of whatever the financial thing is that they're trying to put into effect.
And you're sharing this with somebody. It could be with somebody's sharing a house, they want to sell a house.
It could be that. It could be trying to, how much people like to put businesses together.
Yep.
And it's sort of like, okay, well, I'll put up the expertise and you put up the money. And the people that are putting up the expertise want the same amount in return as the people that are putting up the money. And I don't ever think it should be that way. I think the people that are putting up the money should get the larger return. Because money is really talent, yes, but they're the ones that are going to be on the hook for the expenses of it. So they want to make sure that they know what they're getting into and what the rate is going to be.
Gotcha.
That kind of a deal.
Maybe a Scorpio will have an idea how to get everybody together.
There you go. There you go. That's it. Excellent. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. For Pisces, this energy, for them, this full moon the moon is in their sign when it's full. The sun is in Virgo, but the moon is in their sign. And they feel very good about themselves. Something has been going on in their lives the last 3 or 4 weeks or so, and they weren't sure what the outcome was going to be when they started it. But they find that they get good PR, they get good press, that it works out really well for them. And that they find if for one reason or another, whoever it is that's making the decision about them makes a very favorable decision for the Pisces. So it ends up being a really good week for them, and they find a lot more confidence as the result of it. And I know that's why you're paying attention to it. They find a lot more confidence as a result of it, and it makes it a lot easier for them.
Okay.
And it's easier for them in their head, which then makes it easier in the real world. Because the hardest thing for Pisces is to have confidence in themselves and what it is that they're doing. So, but they get some sort of affirmation or reaffirmation from whoever it is that they're trying to impress that, yes, you impressed me.
You got a Pisces going on over there?
I've
Got a little
lot
bit,
of
got a little
in my
Pisces
family.
going on
Pisces
there.
going on?
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
my dad,
Okay.
a lot of family members.
Well, yes, and some of them have had some struggles,
Oh,
and they
yes.
want to have some clarity with that. And one way or the other, by Saturday, they'll know.
Okay.
So it's either it works out great or I'm done. It's that kind of a thing. But at least they have enough information to make an informed decision about what they want to do.
Okay.
For Aries, this energy in Aries is in their sixth house of work, health, and responsibilities. And they have to be really careful with this energy because the moon is in their 12th house of their own undoing. And they want to be sure that they're not getting into something that's going to be more obligations on their part.
Okay.
Almost like they got to make sure that the pleasure is going to be worth the pain or the
Gotcha.
price that goes along with it, because it's way more responsibility on the Aries end than it is on whoever it is that they're interacting with.
All right, so I have an Aries in my life. I'm
Okay.
a family member. And it's funny you say that because the Aries just got a job promotion.
Yeah.
All right, and just kind of getting into something she hadn't quite gotten into yet. And so I know that the money sounds good, but I don't know what the responsibility is going to be.
The responsibilities are going to be big, but it's
Yeah.
a good thing for the Aries. And the Aries actually finds that out next week when the energy shifts as far as when Venus goes into the sign of Libra. They will find that they made the right decision as far as that goes. But professionally, it's a good move for them. But I do think it's a lot of responsibility.
Is
And
it
that's the catch.
Love life on the Aries?
For Aries, the love life
Yeah.
will be something they're going to pay attention to next week after they get this job thing squared away.
Yeah.
Because then Venus goes into Libra, and Libra is Aries' seventh house of partners. So that's when they can then go, okay, I've got that area of my life in good shape. Now let me pay attention to my love life. Because I think you can't do too many things at once. You have to be able to give one thing your undivided attention. And I think the way the universe works is let me fill, because the universe responds to your need or responds to your desire. You can't just say, ooh, I want a Mercedes-Benz, but if you really, really have a desire for one, you're willing to put the effort out into it, you can make that happen. And so for Aries, once they get their job things squared away and that they understand what they're doing, then they can devote their energy to creating something else.
Gotcha. All right.
So, and that we'll talk about next week for Aries. For Tauruses, you ask, what a great time for Tauruses. Taurus, this energy is in their fifth house of love affairs, children, sports, amusements, pleasures, anything creative. But the moon is going to be in their 11th house of hopes, wishes, goals, and objectives. So through some sort of creative process, they end up achieving a long-standing hope, wish, goal, or objective. So I think that it means that their love life picks up. And I think that friends somehow help them out, either introduce them or say, hey, you really ought to do this. It's almost as like a friend or a group reaches out to help the Taurus get what it is the Taurus wants.
I'm
which is
going
kind-
to
and not
podiatrist,
manipulative.
This week. Yeah,
You
that's-
stop it. You stop it.
But it's a very cool, very creative time. And also something for Tauruses that requires almost a magnificent sense of timing comes to be by Thursday and Friday. So by Friday night, you're going, yeah, happy days are here again, yeah. And it may be something that you tried to put into effect a year or two ago. Pops back up out of the blue and says, yeah, now we're ready for it.
Really?
Yeah, I know. And the beauty of it is you don't know what it is.
No.
That's the fun thing. And so when it does pop up, you'll go, oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
All right.
That kind of a thing.
I am complete. I blank.
Yeah, well, and that'll be the fun, that'll give you something fun to look forward to as the week goes by. It's no fun if you know everything that's going to happen.
Yeah, that's
you know,
true.
and to me, the beauty is not what is going to happen. My job is to tell you when something is going to happen so
Okay.
you can be receptive to it.
Right.
Rather than ignoring it or going, oh yeah, no, there's nothing to it. So, for Geminis, rather challenging. I think of all this, and I'm glad Ryan's not in here because he would throw something at me. It is very challenging energy for Gemini.
Yeah.
Because Virgo is not particularly good for Gemini. Pisces is not particularly good for Gemini. So we've got the sun in a sign not good for them. We've got the moon in a sign that's not good for them. And we have Mars in a sign that's not good for them. So it's a real challenge for Geminis this week. And I had to laugh when he was talking about his football team, his fantasy football team. And I didn't want to tell him, I don't think it gets any better as the week goes on. I don't. But after that, it'll be okay.
I just need it to be bad this week for him. Since
Yeah,
I'm
well,
playing
and
him.
you will get your wish. If it's a challenge between you and him, oh, crash hands down, you win that. And so Gemini's everywhere going, great, thanks, Star Goddess. We really appreciate getting caught up in this. And it's like, I know, I don't make it up. I just kind of report it.
There you
So
go.
for them, not the greatest of weeks for them. But then after that, next week it changes. For Cancers, this energy is in their third house of day-to-day living and the ninth house of the law. So something legal, some kind of contract, some kind of negotiation has been going on for Cancers, and they're trying to nail down the details of the negotiation. They know that they want to come to terms. They just are going to have to work out the actual details of the terms, and that happens this week.
Okay.
And so this may be something, and I had to laugh because we were talking about Antonio Brown earlier.
Yeah.
And I think, whatever he was planning, he started planning that in January and still working out the details of it. And this week brings it to a climax where he's gone to the Patriots to go win a Super Bowl, I'm afraid.
Wow.
So, and I'm telling you, as sure as I'm sitting here, that was a deliberate action. That was an absolute deliberate action. I don't think it was on Bill Belichick's part, but I think it was on Antonio Brown's part, and I think it was on his agent's part. And I think that's why he manifested such bizarre behavior. And when
It was bizarre. I'm like, I'm trying to explain how come somebody could show out so much and feel good about it and smile, but the whole time, like, why is he smiling about it? Why? I would be embarrassed to be acting like this.
Yeah. Because what he was trying to do is manifest behavior so the Raiders didn't want him anymore. And he tried a couple of outrageous things, and finally, what do you have to do? Punch somebody?
It's right to punch somebody. He's like, listen, my feet, like my helmet.
Yeah. I mean, it was,
Yeah,
and it was just,
missing
yeah. So I'm not a big fan of conspiracy theories because I think it's hard enough to get one person to do something. But in this case, I think it was an absolute plan to do that.
There you go.
I do, and I don't know whether he signed anything yet, but I know that those details are being worked out right now.
I don't appreciate the behavior. I hope the stars come out after him pretty soon there. All right?
Yeah, no, not so much. And then for Leo's, the last sign we're going to talk about, this energy is all about the money for Leo. There's nothing esoteric about it. It's strictly how much money can I make? What do I need to do it? What is my obligation in this financially? If it's in the sense of an investment, what do I have to put into it? But Leos do very well financially with this full moon.
Good.
It's a really good time for them.
Good.
I don't know whether you're going to sign some sort of endorsement deal or something like that, or something you've been working on, but financially, it's a great week for you. And this is not like money falling out of the sky on you. It's not, I should buy a lottery ticket and do really well. This has a lot more to do with the fruits of your labor, because it's a second house thing, not a other people's money.
Gotcha.
But it's the energy that you put out is what ends up giving you more money. So.
Going back to that Sagittarius thing, I was like, I just need a couple more hours in the day to put this stuff together. If I could, a couple more hours a day could make me some more money. Actually.
Yes.
Who knows?
And that's part of the. So the best advice is to pick, with knowing both of those things, both the Leo thing saying, yes, it's a good week to go ahead and solidify financial things, and the Sagittarius thing, which is career and public standing, it's to pick the career thing that's going to make you the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of grief and aggravation, effort, and energy.
I like it.
So tomorrow's news today for the 12 signs of the zodiac. So
There you go.
you got to like it, and go Bucks. I think Winston has a great night. I'm not so sure Bruce does, but I do know that Winston has a good night on Thursday. So,
Awesome.
and I think he needs one of those.
Yeah.
I think he needed to be humbled a bit, because I'm not so sure that he was really receptive to what was being said about what he needed to do, and now there is no uncertainty about what he needs to do to keep his job.
It's going to be interesting watching the stars with those guys.
Yeah. It's my favorite thing to do.
All right, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, and you got an app too, right? You're trying to get.
I do. I have an astro-fertility app. People are struggling, especially millennials are struggling with how to get pregnant. And people, more importantly, that are doing IVF, and that's $15,000 to $20,000 a pop.
Yeah.
And doctors just go, okay, Tuesday looks good. And I have clients that have done that 2 and 3 times before they finally call me and said, what day is my egg receptive? And I thought, well, and the easiest thing to do is to create an app, and it's called Astro Fertility. And Apple's not putting it out yet, But you can get it on my webpage if you have Google or Android. So, and that's stargoddesses.com.
There you go.
Easiest way to find it.
That's what we do. That's the Star Goddess edition of Crash and AJ blog, September 9th edition here. And I guess we'll see you again next week. If you have any like questions?
Yeah, get those to me anytime. Just email me, aj@98rock.com. Include your birthday and your question. Give me details. Don't just say birthday finance.
Yeah, no, we want to know about
birthday
it.
Love. Like,
Yeah.
We need
Specifics
stats here.
because in order to answer it effectively,
Yeah.
you know, I need a little. I'm not a psychic. I need a little bit more information about that in order to do that, like the other person's date of birth, and you know, if it's I'm not sure about what's going to happen with this, I need to know what that is because each affair of life is governed by a different sign of the zodiac in a different place. I need to know where to look for the right answers.